Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be discussing the newest makeup announcements and releases. Welcome back to another video, and today I'll be discussing the newest makeup announcements and releases. Unfortunately, you didn't get this video during last week. You can go and watch my Cosmic Beauty palette ranking intro. I did discuss quite extensively that we had some camera footage issues, which meant that I actually, basically the whole content that I had filmed for the previous week, I had to pin it because my camera setup had done something funny. But we are now doing the makeup news video, and if you are wondering though why you might be missing, there are some maybe some releases that are not included, is that I am pre-filming this already on Friday. I'm going to be working on Sunday, which doesn't happen a lot these days, but because I will be working during Sunday, I don't have time to film this during Sunday, so we are filming this 2 days earlier than normal. That was a bit of an intro, and let's start now talking about the newest makeup announcements. Alright, so first release of the day, Makeup Revolution has come out with the Bronze Icon palette, so they are basically extending this trio line of cheek products. They brought out blushes in the same format doing last year, so I do think it's quite understandable that they are bringing out bronzers. And this, how the format works is that I think there's basically one cream shade, one powder shade, and then you have a highlighter shade. I think I would be otherwise interested in this one, but Makeup Revolution bronzer shades are very yellow leaning, especially the fair ones. I do think if you are buying one of the darker ones, with those ones the undertone variation might be a bit better, but with their fair shades they are usually very yellow leaning, which is the reason that even though I do think Makeup Revolution, especially these days, they do a lot of good cheek products, I usually have to stay away from the powder, the bronzer shades, and also their contour shades. I don't think they have contour products currently in their line, but also the sort of shades that they kind of advertise for contouring, those also tend to have a bit of funky undertones with the fair or light shades. So that is the reason why I'm skipping this one. Based on the image, the fair shade is looking to be again quite yellow leaning, so we are skipping this one. But if you can find a shade that has a suitable undertone, I do think you could maybe try this one out and see how the formula works out, because as I said, I do think their cheek products have been generally pretty good. Then from Pat McGrath, I think we have all now, I usually don't cover industry news that much on my makeup news videos, but I think we all know Pat McGrath hasn't been doing that hot financially. I think they were almost going to a auction, and then they, I think, went to Chapter 11 bankruptcy, which in US, I think means that it isn't like a bankruptcy, meaning that everything will end. It basically protects them from their lender, for those people who they have, for those companies they are in debt to. So basically a way to protect themselves in order to arrange their finances and continue operating, or figuring out can they get new finances. And I think Pat McGrath, they did get some new financing, but I do think when you are always a brand looking for this sort of emergency financing, I do think it always kind of raises the question that okay, but what kind of, usually the conditions aren't probably that good compared to brands that are doing financially well. So we shall see what happens with with Pat McGrath. And I do have to say this particular product isn't raising my hopes too much. So they have come out with the Lip Sculpt and Shade Contour Duo. So basically it has a lip liner on the other side and a satin looking lipstick on the other. I don't think as such there's anything wrong with this formula. For example, the Pat McGrath original trans matte lipsticks that are in the bullet format, I think those are one of for example, my favorite bullet matte lipsticks. But I mean, I have a Catrice double-ended lipstick, and while I do think with Pat McGrath, obviously I think probably the packaging quality is better and the formula is a bit more refined, but just overall I'm just kind of thinking that you can get similar products at more affordable prices. So far, this isn't getting me excited in terms of the future of this particular brand. So with NARS, we have discussed these stick highlighters on my previous video, but the blush lighters you were seeing are something I don't think I have covered. So aside from coming out with stick highlighters, they are coming out with glowy blushes. I do think this is quite of an, considering that glowy blushes have been pretty on trend, and usually with traditional high-end brands, it takes a bit more time to come get on with the current trend, so it's understandable I think that they are coming out with blush lighters. And NARS is their traditional matte blushes that are in the square packaging. I actually do like the quality of those. I have a few of them in my collection. The shades are looking quite punchy. I don't know is this the whole shade range, and I do think what is notable is that these don't come in the square packaging that they're like original matte powder blushes come in, but these actually come in the round packaging, which I think is the similar packaging that they are using in their powder highlighters that were launched during last year. But the shades are a bit looking on the punchier side, so I would maybe want to wait and see that is this the whole line, or are we gonna see maybe a bit more lighter shades. I do think it's like maybe something different, because usually, especially I think NARS was one of those brands that I think was criticized a lot in the past, and like I think for a good reason, that they weren't too extensive in terms of their shade ranges. So maybe it's actually good that for once people with a more medium to tan skin are actually like maybe catered towards first, and then maybe later we're gonna see some fair shades if these sell well. But I think for me these are looking like a bit too deep. There's the one shade on the middle that I think looks actually more like a very like peachy golden, like more of a highlighter shade. But we shall see if we see more shades and how these actually look in real life. That is this something that I would be interested in. More cheek products. So Benefit has launched a new face palette. We do seem to get a lot of these face palettes these days. I think they just recently launched one for the Valentine's Day. So this is the Cheek Puds. I do like the graphic design of the cover of this one, so that's a small plus. But then when I look at the shades inside, I think we have a Hula, then there's a Cookie, and then there's Shell Gleam, and then there's Pom Pom. I think the Pom Pom might be a new shade. Otherwise, I do have to say that Benefit should really consider that is it like viable to release these cheek products like cheek palettes so often, because I would bet the Valentine's palette had the normal Hula and Cookie. The blush shades were probably a bit different, but I think in terms of like what we like, because I think with almost every face palette we at least get a Hula and a Cookie, and then you usually the blushes they kind of rotate those, but we often only get like maybe one exclusive blush shades, and all the other blush shades are usually recycled from the individual blushes. So well, I do like the packaging of this one. Maybe with Benefit could we maybe get something different. Then a indie palette release that is going to be actually, I think, launching pretty soon. So Dieverune Cosmetics is coming out with Silver and Gold collection, and I'm just gonna focus on the eyeshadow palette with this one. I do think as a sort of grungy purple-green palette, this is actually pretty nice. Not a color story for me. This looks to be a bit more deep for my preferences. But I do think that if you like Dieverune's quality, I think this is something that... Oh, Monolith Shop actually announced that they are gonna be doing the same that they did with the Bella Beauty Parted Roses 2 palette, so you don't actually have to wait for the next big Monolith launch to get this one. They are gonna launch this because people voted it on Instagram. This is gonna be launching on Monolith Shop's site the same day as this is launching on the Dieverune's website. The time can vary a bit, so check on Monolith's Instagram if you're shopping, especially here in Europe for indie brands. So that is kind of cool that if you are interested in this one and you're shopping especially from Europe, then you have another way to get this. You don't have to necessarily wait or order this from the US website. But when is this coming? I think this is coming to the 6th of March. So actually on the Friday that I'm filming this. So by the time this video goes live, this is going to be already available, and it's going to be both available on Dieverune's own website and on Monolith Shop. So VANNGO is expanding his beauty brand, so I assume because this is a beauty brand that I think currently it's only US as Sephora exclusive. I don't think you're able to buy this at least anywhere in store in Europe currently. But he brought out a whole range of very like white, there was like a lot of products in his original launch, and now he's already expanding, so we are getting Glossy Lip Hydrating Lip Shine with hyaluronic acid. That's a long name. I do have to say I kind of still like the red packaging we're going on with this. I can appreciate a brand trying to like step out and separate from their competition, and especially considering the competition is Sephora, which can be pretty tough with the more established brands. I am happy that they are keeping up with their brand identity. This looks to be based on the like lip swatches or lip like images. Seems to be more of a pigmented gloss, and I think this is priced $26 US. So I do think for a gloss that is a bit on the higher side, but then as a Sephora brand as a whole, I think this is still a bit more maybe on the more like, definitely not cheap, but maybe like a mid-range Sephora is how I would price this, like comparative price. So I can't obviously get this one because, as I said, I don't think you can get this very well. Maybe you could order this on the brand website to Europe, but I don't think this is that accessible. But if you live in States and you've been eyeing something like this from the brand, these should be available soon. Oden came out with a collaboration, so this is with Heather Austin. I have watched some of Heather's content. She reviews a lot of eyeshadow palette, but she also does generally quite a lot of like palette review, like also like makeup reviews generally. And this is again a more like a singles bundle with a custom palette rather than a sort of like pre-made eyeshadow palette. I do actually kind of like how the palette looks on the image that it has. So it has sort of like a image of Heather in it, and I do like the artistic design of it. Maybe as a color story, it's a bit maybe more like too like jewel tone leaning for me, and also because it is basically a curated bundle of singles, it is more expensive than if she would have gotten a sort of pre-made palette, because production cost of those, it's much more less than producing like singles. But if you want to support Heather, I think this is already available on Oden's website. I think it is $92 and 22 cents, so there is a bit of a discount if you buy this as a bundle then compared to the fact that if you would buy, like normally buy this amount of their singles, and then I think if you would buy the case also. For me this is a skip because I'm not a fan of that Oden is now doing this, that they're trying to sell the singles, because those are just like more expensive to buy compared to like a pre-made palettes. Titanium Foxes, which I think is a French-based indie brand, and an indie brand that I would very much like to try, but unfortunately a lot of their palettes color stories seem to have this like almost blue film over it, and this is no exception. So this is the Crying by the Horses palette. That is I like a horse-themed name, but also that kind of sounds like a very sad name to a palette. But that is the name of the palette. I can kind of like get it. It's a very sad-looking color story in a way. It is like very gray and blue leaning. Then there is some warm colors on the like upper row. But yeah, again, this brand seems to have some kind of thing that a lot of their color stories seem to have like blue-green film over it. So if we could maybe get a bit different kind of undertones, I would actually maybe be interested to make an order, but because the undertones of the colors seem to be quite similar. It's like a lot of their palettes are now sounding a little bit samey. But if you want to order from a European indie brand and you actually kind of like this sort of undertone and color story, maybe look into this. I think I have generally seen quite positive reviews from this particular brand, so yeah. Then a sort of indie brand that I have been like following on Instagram, but so far this has been like one of those that I'm keeping my eye on to see that how they are gonna be developing. So Micka Beauty has released an all shimmer palette which is called the Gem Altar. Again, I actually do like the outer packaging of this one quite a lot. I have seen some of their palette releases. I do think they still need to maybe work a bit on their like how they are like curating their color stories and how they are like doing the outer packaging, but I do think the outer packaging especially is the best that I have seen them so far from their palettes. It is an all shimmers palette. The shimmers are looking very nice, but as a whole it is still a bit like, even for an all shimmer palette, bit maybe mismatchy for my taste. But I do think that if you are looking for something like new and bit more different indie palette to try, then this could be a brand that you could try out. And especially, like as I said, the shimmers do look beautiful, but I would have maybe wished a bit more like curation still with the particular shades that had been chosen. Then Unearthly Cosmetics. So Unearthly Cosmetics is launching Woeful Whimsy palette. And is this a collaboration? Unearthly Cosmetics /ME. So this might be a collab, I'm a bit unsure. I'm gonna put it in the timestamp of this particular product that if there is a collaborator. This kind of looks fun based on the packaging color. I mean, like using the lime green is always a good way to get your palette to pop, but maybe something with the color correction. Again, we are getting, like, it seems to be a theme today that some of the color corrections aren't like, for some reason I'm not vibing with the eyeshadow palettes in today's video. So it is like, something about this one, like I would have very difficult time figuring out to do cohesive looks with this one. I think that's what it's like. For someone, I think this could be a fun way. You get a couple of like, there's a brown, you get a black, and you get a grayish leaning white. So you kind of have the basics, and then you do get some poppy colorful shades. The shimmers are looking like, a lot of them are like, I think there's 3 like white based shimmers. I assume the shimmers are that they are somehow shifty, but and then you get a 1 gray leaning shimmer. But I think because there's like altogether 3 like white leaning shimmers, it kind of for me makes the palette look a bit like strange, and yeah. This obviously, I think, because I'm having such difficulties just describing this, we can probably say that this palette isn't for me, but if you've been looking for something new from Unearthly, I think this is going to be also launching very soon. MAC is launching a new sort of like cheek product, so this is the Multisculpt Matte Liquid Contour, liquid color, sorry, color, not contour. But I do think this is probably what most people would use for contouring. There is quite a lot, like I would say in terms of undertones, this looks great. There's quite a lot of variation. We have like some warm undertones, there's some yellow undertones, and we might even have a cool tone shade in the upper corner. MAC is not something like, I think MAC has been getting a bit of their hype back. I do think I have seen like maybe more people talking about MAC again, which wasn't the situation like a few years ago. Like a lot of people were, I think, saying that MAC is not doing so well, but I think they now returned to US Sephora's. I don't think in US Sephora's they were sold for some time. In European Sephora's you have been actually able to buy MAC, I think, in quite a lot of countries, at least the few ones that I have visited when I've been traveling abroad. There's been MAC, but I do know that in US Sephora's there was for the longest time you couldn't get it, but now they have come back to US Sephora's, so I think that shows that MAC is maybe getting their hype back. Still, I think MAC's pricing is just so challenging for me, because it is this like very upper mid-range pricing, which always makes me question that, okay, I'll just might as well then splurge the money to a high-end variation of the particular product if I think the high-end formula weren't priced, or I can get something at a drugstore pricing that still does as good work as the MAC product. So for me, why I have never jumped to the like MAC hype wagon is that I think their pricing is a bit of a problematic part, because it's just like, it's always that if I want then something very high quality, then I'm just gonna buy a luxury high-end brand, or then I can get something at a drugstore that does the same work at a lesser price. So for me, I think even if there would be like an undertone in this particular product, this is obviously, I think, one of those multi-use products that you can use in different ways. But even if there would be an undertone that would suit me, I still think this is a skip for me. So NYX is doing something very random, so we are getting a collaboration with Simpsons. I think Makeup Revolution did a few Simpsons collections like a few years ago. My whole childhood basically was like watching Simpsons. It was a very, like in the beginning of early 2000s, even 2010s, it was, I think Simpsons were having their moment. But I think after sort of when I became a teenager, I kind of dropped it. It wasn't like any more interesting to me, and it's safe to say that I haven't been like keeping up on watching. I still think the show is going on, which is crazy, because the show, I think in States it's already begun somewhere around at the end of 80s or 90s. You can then correct me in the comments or Google it. But it's like a show that has been, I think, going on for too long, so that is why I thought that this is a bit random. But for me, like, I can kind of see the inspiration. Obviously, there's like a donut highlighter, which is pretty cool. I do think actually the pink donut highlighter is kind of fun. There is a, what is the one that has the sort of March hair to it? Is it a hair styler? Oh, so it's one of those, so 2-in-1 brow hairstyle. Oh, so that's kind of fun. So it's a like the brow, I think brow gel in the sort of like, in a March inspired packaging. Eyeshadow palette is kind of dull. I mean, it's a brown palette that has a pop of blue and yellow. I think they could have done maybe something else with the eyeshadow palette. I think that with that one the execution is a bit lazy, but and then I think there are some lip products also included in this one. But for me, this is a franchise that I think had its moment also in my life, but I'm just like a bit over it, and I think it would be a good time maybe to end this particular franchise, because I think it has been just going on way too long. We are seeing now, I think this might be the first high-end summer collection that I'm featuring, so for like this year. So Tom Ford is coming out with another Soleil summer collection. This seems to be the same name every year. And within this collections, what are we getting? There are some lip products, we are getting some bronzers, and then I think is there only like one, there might be 1 or 2 eyeshadow quads, I'm a bit unsure. I'm trying to actually now see that what we are. Actually, there is a lot more than just 1 eyeshadow quad. I'll have to see how I'm gonna show this one. So I think there's altogether like 5 eyeshadow quad, but I do have to say 3 of them are looking very samey now that I look in the picture. The quads are in their newer packaging, which I do think is pretty cool. The bronzer is gonna come out in 4 shades. Yeah, we can, again, the deepest shade isn't looking that deep, but this seems to be again, with some luxury brands, I'm just like, could we please do a bit better with the shade ranges? But at least there is like 4 variation instead of like with Guerlain, that their like bronzer product that I discussed a few weeks ago that only had like 1 shade variation, so at least with this one we're getting 4. And then I think there is a lip product, there's like a lip gloss, and I think those might be either, are those liquid lipsticks or... No, they are, I think, lip tints. Okay, so Soleil tinted lip glow, yeah. So we are getting some lip tints also in this one. This I think it's pretty extensive because I mean with the lip tints there was quite a lot of shade, like there's quite a many shades. We get 4 different shades of bronzer and we're getting 5 eyeshadow quads, which I think for high-end brands, actually like Tom Ford is a luxury brand, so for luxury brands, like launching 5 eyeshadow quads within a summer collection, that is a lot. Like usually, for example, Dior is a good example, we usually get 2 variations, and I think this goes for Chanel and a lot of others, so 5 new Tom Ford quads. I'm feeling sorry for all of you because I do know there is a group within the makeup community that actually like collects these Tom Ford quads. I'm so sorry for your wallets because these quads are hideously expensive, so if you're gonna buy all 5 of them, this is gonna be a pretty pricey month, and if you then are getting any other products from the collection, that's gonna be even more expensive. But I am going to be skipping this one, even though I can appreciate especially the new packaging design that the brand has. This is still a collection that I can safely say that we are out. And then we're gonna discuss something that I did bought. I might have been doing some stress buying because, how should I say this in a nice way? Well, there's no nice way of saying this. The situation in the world generally around us currently is not making me at least feel pretty good, and I think I am sharing a lot of people's sentiments that we are living quite crazy times. But so I was doing some stress shopping maybe, and I saw that P.Louise is coming out with a Easter collection. We generally don't see a lot of Easter collection. We do see spring collection, but Easter themed collections maybe haven't been that like much of a thing. But I love a good themed collection. So basically what I'm gonna discuss in this particular segment are only the like Easter eggs. There is like, as with all P.Louise collection these days, they had quite a lot of like skincare stuff because they do know a lot of skincare, but these Easter eggs were the ones that had like also makeup in them. So they had 2 variations. There was a minty green one and pink one. In terms of color of the packaging, I actually would have liked the green one better, but then when I started looking at the products inside of it, I was like thinking that yeah, okay, but the pink one's products, when you're looking at the products inside, are actually better. And if you end up buying one of these Easter eggs, they are gonna have a hand cream, so you are getting some skincare in this one. But otherwise you get there's an eyeshadow palette, there's a mascara, you get a Bad Bee Duo, which is that they do kind of almost in every set. With the Bad Bee products, because it's basically a lip balm and a lip oil, some of the lip oils are more pigmented that for me, for example, go as a makeup product, but then for example in the pink variation, having seen the shade, I think that's gonna be more of a skincare product again for me because the shade in the pink variation is see-through. This is why I would have also preferred the green one, because in the green variation there was actually a pretty deep like reddish shade in it that I think would have actually been more makeup-y. You also get a sort of body mist because again body mist have been popular and P.Louise has been doing them. They are also bringing out with lip tints. This is going to have one of those peel-off lip tints, which let's see, that's going to be an interesting thing for me to review. I'm not having that high of expectations. And there's going to be eyeshadow palettes. I do think the eyeshadow palettes are pretty cute, also like across both of these like eggs. But I would have hoped you could have bought some of these separately, because at least so far I actually logged into the pre-order site because I'm on the mailing list, so I got the code early. And you could get the Bad Bees separately, but you had with those, if you bought any of those separately, those were like a pre-order product. So basically, currently, if you want to order any of the like makeup, especially the makeup-esque products, you can only get them on the like eggs, so you have to buy the whole thing. So I would have rather been able to mix and match, because I would have actually liked the green Bad Bee variation that was in the mint green egg, and I also would have I would have liked to also gotten both of the eyeshadow palettes. But because if I would have bought both of the eggs, it would have been like over 100 euros, and I actually wanted to also shop other things because they have been running this very good like clearance sale on their website, because I do think they're trying to now get rid of from quite a lot of like old stock, so I did want to also get other things from the sale, like their sales section. So that is the reason why I did end up like having to choose that. Okay, I then chose the pink one because I still thought that overall more products that I'm mostly going to be able to use were on the sort of pink variation, but you can buy these in duos if you for some reason want to get both of them. So I'm going to be unboxing this and reviewing this one. And also last thing that these actually have both is that while I'm not usually a fan of the fact that the P.Louise mystery boxes or collection boxes usually have faux eyelashes, but this one actually has these like individual lashes, and those are actually a product when a few times a year when there is like a fancier celebration. That is actually like the only form of faux lashes that I actually like to use. So I like to use the individual ones because I do think those give a bit better maybe control, because I like to like obviously like I like having eyelashes that show up, but then with the like a lot of faux lashes it kind of makes look that you are wearing essentially faux lashes, so it's a careful balance. So with this one the like eyelash products might be actually something that I might end up using, because usually when I have gotten eyelashes within their mystery boxes or bundle boxes, usually the eyelashes end up going to the bin because I just don't use them. The pricing of these ones, if you buy these in UK pounds, it was around I think 60 UK pounds or 55 UK pounds. I think if you bought this on pre-order. In euros, because of the conversion rate, how pounds goes, the one egg was I think 64 euros, but I might have been able to use a discount code to get a bit of the price down, which was actually a pretty good one. But as I said, the Easter eggs, if you want to finally get a sort of like Easter-esque collection, these Easter eggs are already going to be available once this video goes live. I'm not going to be making any promises that are these going to be sold out by the time the video goes live, but hopefully if it's sold out and you want to get this one, hopefully they'll be able to restock this particular collection. Those were all the makeup products I had to discuss for today. Comment down below maybe what were some of your favorite new makeup announcements. If you like this video, push the like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell button if you want to get notifications from future content. You can also find me with the same nickname, Makeup Hedgehog, on Instagram. I hope I can see you in the video. Bye bye!